It starts quietly, almost imperceptibly. No one notices at first, not the neighbors, not the teachers, and often not even the family itself. You're just 7 years old, gazing into the eyes of a parent who's unraveling before you. It could be addiction pulling them under, unchecked anger exploding in unpredictable bursts, or simply the empty silence of someone too shattered to be present. In that moment, without a single word spoken, something primal awakens in your young mind. If I don't hold this all together, everything will fall apart. This is how a child vanishes, not from the world, but from themselves. They don't disappear physically, but their true self fades into the background, replaced by a survival strategy that looks like maturity. Children in these situations learn to smile brighter, cry quieter, and scan the room for tension before uttering a word. They become the family's emotional regulator, adjusting the mood like a thermostat to keep things from boiling over. Society applauds them for it. You're so mature for your age, people say, so responsible, so strong. But beneath the praise lies a question no one bothers to ask. At what cost? This is the hidden sorrow of those who grow up too fast. The effects don't fade with time. They linger, influencing relationships, careers, and self-worth. If left unexamined, these early patterns become chains, repeating the very survival tactics that once protected you, but now erode your well-being. To understand this deeply, let's explore the developmental psychology behind it. When a child is thrust into the role of supporting their parents emotionally, rather than the reverse, experts call it parentification. It's not just about doing extra chores. It's about becoming the caregiver, the mediator, the counselor, or even the shield against harm. This reversal of roles isn't merely unfair, it fundamentally alters brain development. Normally, childhood is a time for exploration, play, and secure attachment, where parents provide stability so kids can focus on growing. But in parentified homes, the child shoulders adult burdens. Prematurely, this constant responsibility fosters hypervigilance, a state of perpetual alertness. You're always on guard, anticipating the next crisis. Walking on eggshells becomes second nature. You learn that love isn't freely given. It's earned through keeping the peace. Your needs? They feel like threats that could disrupt the fragile balance. So you push them down, making yourself smaller to make room for others. In their place, a performative self emerges, the good child who excels at school, the reliable sibling who never complains, the friend who listens but never shares. This mask fits so well that even you start believing it's real. But underneath, a quiet pain festers, the unmet cries of the inner child who was never allowed to just be. As years pass, these early adaptations evolve into more intricate adult struggles. Hyper-independence is common. You refuse help, convinced that relying on others leads to disappointment or danger. Relationships might feel unsafe, with vulnerability seeming like a risk not worth taking. Joy can feel foreign or undeserved, leaving you numb during life's brighter moments. Rest? That's a luxury you can't afford because busyness has always been your proof of value. Worst of all, you might not recognize you're still in survival mode. When chaos was your normal from a young age, calm feels unsettling, peace suspicious, and love like a loan you'll eventually have to repay. Why does a child step into this role in the first place? It's not a deliberate choice, it's instinctual. Children are wired for connection. Attachment is their lifeline. In unstable environments, they'll adapt in any way necessary to maintain bonds, even if it means sacrificing their own authenticity. Biologically, this makes sense. Evolution favors survival through belonging. Abandoning yourself to fit in isn't weakness, it's a smart, adaptive response. But the tragedy unfolds later, when what once saved you becomes a prison. As an adult, you might overachieve to feel loved, stay silent to avoid rejection, or care for everyone else while ignoring your own needs. Deep down, there's a longing for someone to see through the facade, to let you collapse and be caught. This dynamic often stems from complex trauma, not isolated events, but ongoing relational wounds. It's not always dramatic abuse. Sometimes it's neglect, inconsistency, or emotional unavailability. The child's nervous system adapts by normalizing dysfunction, making adrenaline-fueled living feel like home. Stillness? That triggers anxiety, as if something must be wrong if nothing is exploding. This baseline of tension affects everything. Health, with chronic stress leading to issues like anxiety disorders or burnout. Work, where you might excel, but at the expense of boundaries. And intimacy, where trust feels elusive. Consider a common scenario. A young girl grows up with an alcoholic father and a mother overwhelmed by it all. She learns to diffuse arguments, clean up messes, and comfort her siblings. By adolescence, she's the family's rock. Praised for her resilience, she internalizes that strength equals worth. In adulthood, she becomes a successful professional, perhaps a nurse or teacher, roles that echo her caregiving past. But in her personal life, she attracts partners who need fixing, repeating the cycle. She resents the imbalance but fears speaking up, worried it'll lead to abandonment. This isn't fate, it's learned behavior traceable to those early years. Or think of a boy whose parents divorce bitterly, using him as a confidant. He hears adult secrets he's not equipped to handle, becoming the emotional buffer. As a man, he might avoid deep connections, opting for superficial ones where he doesn't have to reveal his vulnerabilities. He jokes about being low maintenance, but it's a defense against the fear of being a burden. These stories aren't rare. They play out in countless lives, often unrecognized until a crisis, like a breakdown or failed relationship, forces reflection. Healing begins with awareness, not immediate fixes. The first step is witnessing your story without judgment. Acknowledge the parentification for what it was, a theft of childhood. Validate the pain. It wasn't fair. I deserved protection. This counters the inner voice that minimizes it. Others had it worse. I turned out okay. Okay is often a facade. True healing peels it back. Shadow work, a concept from psychologist Carl Jung, is central here. It involves confronting the hidden parts of yourself, the neglected emotions, the suppressed rage, the unmet needs. It's not about self-improvement through force, but gentle integration. Start by dialoguing with your inner child. Imagine that 7-year-old version of you. What do they need? Safety? Play? Unconditional love? Provide it now. Set boundaries to protect your energy. Seek therapy to process grief, or simply allow yourself rest without guilt. Therapy can be transformative, especially modalities like internal family systems, IFS, or EMDR, which address trauma stored in the body. IFS views the self as having parts, the protector, the exile, and works to harmonize them. EMDR helps reprocess memories, reducing their emotional charge. But healing isn't just clinical, it's daily practice. Journal about childhood memories, noting patterns that persist. Practice receiving. Let friends help without reciprocating immediately. Cultivate play, draw, dance, or explore hobbies forgotten long ago. In relationships, this means breaking old cycles. If you've been the overfunctioner, learn to step back. Communicate needs clearly. I feel overwhelmed. Can we share this? Healthy partners will respond with support, not withdrawal. At work, challenge the productivity myth. Success isn't measured by exhaustion. Set limits to prevent burnout. Self-worth shifts from doing to being. You're valuable simply because you exist. Grief is inevitable in this process. You'll mourn the lost innocence, the absent protection, the years spent performing. Rage might surface toward those who failed you. Allow it. Emotions aren't enemies, but guides. Crying isn't weakness, it's release. As Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. But on the other side lies freedom. Trusting love without strings, embracing joy without suspicion, resting without shame. Remember, your early maturity wasn't a flaw. It was a response to circumstances beyond your control. The problem was the lack of choice. Now, as an adult, choice is yours. You can opt for softness over stoicism, honesty over silence, self-care over self-sacrifice. It won't be linear. Some days, the inner child will resurface, demanding attention. Welcome them, let them grieve, play, and heal. In time, you'll notice shifts. Calm feels natural, not alarming. Relationships deepen with mutual vulnerability. Work becomes fulfilling, not obligatory. You're not erasing the past, but rewriting its influence on your future. You never had a carefree childhood, but you can create an adulthood of wholeness. This is true growth, not forced by necessity, but chosen through compassion. By honoring the child you were, you liberate the adult you are. And in that liberation, you finally get to breathe freely, no longer holding everything together but simply being.